Great. So welcome everyone to this session. Um, I am Lakshya Mittal, right? I'll be taking some of your sessions on C++ fundamentals and some problem solving sessions, right? Some difficult topics and some frameworks would be covered by Vivek, but I'll be taking some CPP refreshers, right? So it is very important to introduce myself. And today the session is actually less about learning and more about my journey and like getting motivated about doing AZ, right? Motivation is also important. Some people say that motivation is not important. Motivation is extremely important, first of all. Right. Mm, I have my chat opened here. Great. Okay. Okay, this is not working because I need my driver. Just a second. Great. So today's session is divided into two parts, right? Two parts. First is my journey. Okay, so my handwriting is not as good as Vivek's or as Shubham's. Shubham has a very nice handwriting. So my journey, but I try to convey stuff as like clearly as possible. First half is going to be my journey. Second half is going to be some C++ problem solving, right? So that we don't only stick to motivation, right? So this is the first part. This is the second part. Let us start with my journey. And who am I? My journey as an AZ student, right? As an AZ student, as a person, like as someone from a tier 3 college, let's say, tier 3 college maybe. And as someone who has worked at Commvault, sorry about that, Commvault and Zomato. Great. So let's get started. I have these slides prepared, fancy slides for everyone. But yeah, let's see. Okay, so who am I? My name is Lakshya Mittal. I am like full-time now instructor and software engineer at AlgoZenith. Before that, I used to work at Commvault Systems. So just out of college, I used to work at Commvault Systems. Then I switched to Zomato. I come from like Manav Rashna University, which is a tier 3 university, a private university in my hometown, Faridabad. Great. Also, I'm an expert at Codeforces. Like I am not that much into competitive programming. So I only like achieved expert and just left competitive programming at that. So my journey started in the 8th standard. I tried making video games, right? I was extremely fascinated by the concept of video games and I tried making them in Unity. Like there is a game engine called Unity, right? So it was the free, like the most popular engine out there. So I tried making games in that. How many of you have tried making any video games? Write a +1 in your school or in your college. Only one person has tried making video games. 2, 3, 4. Okay, nice. Phaser.js, what is that? Phaser.js is a library or something? Great. So some people have tried making video games. So I tried that. That is really good actually. That is the first introduction to games that I got or coding that I got. It's a game dev engine. Okay, great. So I have not heard about that. I've heard only about Unity 3D, and there were a couple of more that were made like freely available after that. But obviously, just like most things in my life, I failed at that. Right. So this was back in 2014, and in 2014 there were quite a good amount of resources also. So I would not say that there were not enough resources. Today it is like an ocean of resources out there, right? On YouTube, on internet. There were like 10% of those resources still available in 2014. But mainly I failed because there was nobody else who was making games around me. And it was a complete lack of guidance, right? So obviously I failed miserably, right? So that was my first failure. The second failure came in my 12th standard. Most of you, I would assume, are either BTech students or BCA students. Most of you are BTech students. So you must have heard about this exam called JEE exam, and like I did not um, fail to pass that exam. I failed to even try for it. That is a more like bigger failure in my opinion. So given the amount of so there is something called as phase test in FITG. So FITG is a very popular coaching center. So in phase test, in my first phase test, I was placed in the top batch, but then I stopped studying. So according to my first phase test, I should be in some good college. But because I was too addicted to YouTube, I was sick all the time, right? I was ill a lot of the time. And in 12th standard, I got chronically sick. And due to my own addictions of using mobile phones and not studying, I even like did not properly study for JEE exam. So I knew that I am not going to make it into a good college. It was not even my aim at that point. And I just applied for literally one college altogether. That was the closest college to my home. And I just went to that. Right. So that was a big failure. So both of them were big failures. Not being able to make games, what I wanted, and not able to prepare for my joint entrance exam. Right. So I obviously joined a tier 3 university called Manav Rashna University, and there was no coding culture in that, as most tier 3 colleges. There is literally like today I'm not sure like they have still developed a good coding culture. A lot of like 2 or 3 students have been placed into Google now, but back in my day there was no coding culture, and I joined different societies, not the coding like coding societies. I joined the dance society and I fooled around here and there. I just went to cafes and restaurants and clubs with my friends, right? I made a lot of friends. I just fooled around and had the time of my life. Means you have been a day scholar throughout your engineering? Yes, I was a day scholar throughout my engineering, right? So I fooled around. As you can see, this is like one of the fest or probably something happening in my first year that I was part of as a dance society student. So first year went like that. I did very little coding, to be honest. I did give some NPTEL exams here and there, but obviously those were not actually true coding, I would say, right? True problem solving. So in second year, everything changed, right? Everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked. So COVID happened, and in second year, all of us were now locked inside our homes with nothing to do. My college pass out year is 2022, right? So COVID happened in March 2020. In my third semester or fourth semester, I would say, COVID actually happened, right? So in second year, obviously, we were stuck inside our homes. Now I had this very bad habit of like watching YouTube videos, random YouTube videos. So one day what happened was there was a guy, he was probably one of the first people on YouTube who started making videos because COVID was happening. Every working professional started making videos on YouTube, and every college student started seeing those videos. So that was the boom period for those bhaiyas and didis that you see online, right? And I remember one bhaiya, he was probably the first one to create a roadmap to crack tech jobs, right? And that was the first time I was hearing about the word tech jobs and what companies like Google, Uber, DE Shaw, they even ask, right? So he was telling that CP is something that you should do. These are the topics of DSA you should do. This is how you should prepare your resume, core subjects that you need to cover. That was the first time I was hearing it. And that sort of, I don't know what exactly what it was, but I still remember the night. Something inside me changed. I decided that this is the JEE moment for me. That no matter what happens, I am going to do this stuff and I'm going to crack a top tech job uh, by the time I am passing out from my college. Right. So I decided that this was that moment that, hey, this is my moment to shine. I'm going to do something. I'm going to actually cover all these topics, be the best in my college, which is not much, to be honest, to be best in your college, but I'll be best in my college and I'll crack a top tech job. So that is what I decided then. What I did was I scoured through all the internet, right? I got all the resources. I pirated courses of famous edtechs. Like there are certain edtechs out there, and which have probably dissolved now. But back in my day, there were some famous edtechs that used to teach coding. Uh, and I pirated courses. I did lead code. There were some random sheets floating around, right? 450 sheets, 200 question sheet. Yes, pep coding was one of them, and there were other famous ones also. So I used to like solve every question. I used to do DSA, and I like gave my entire second year and my third year to coding. And just as a perspective, I want to show you this is where I started from. So how many of you have created an account on Codeforces? This is the first problem of the entire platform. Codeforces for a watermelon. This is the problem with the most submissions till date. You can go on Codeforces, go to a problem set and sort it by a number of correct submissions, and you will say for a problem set, for a watermelon. And see how many wrong answers I have here. I had 4 wrong answers before having an accepted answer. And for people who don't know, this question is about, I think, if I'm not wrong, telling if a number is even or odd. It was framed in a way that you can cut the watermelon in some way or the other. But this question is, I think, something about telling if a number is even or odd. And I got 4 wrong answers before actually getting an accepted solution. Once in the ICP, okay, nice, great. So I was really demotivated at this point. But again, I got all the motivation from YouTube, from bhaiyas and didis. Back in the day, LinkedIn was not that popular. Like it is, like a lot of students are now on LinkedIn, but back in the day, in 2019 or 2020, I would say, it was not that big of a culture that college students in second and third year would be on LinkedIn. Fourth year students were on LinkedIn, so that was still there. So, but still, I got a lot of motivation from YouTube, and I was like, no matter what happens, I am a smart individual. I got placed in the top batch in Fiji, so I can do something maybe, right? Still, that maybe was there, but still, I was confident that I will be able to do it. Then, third year completely, I went to Codeforces, went to Lead Code, did all the sheets, right? Pirated a lot of courses, and did all the things that I could. Where was I by the end of the third year? I could solve. So, as a metric to tell you, at the end of the third year, I could solve graph problems on lead code. So, there is a medium level problems of graph. Any problem of graph, which is medium level on lead code, I could solve it easily. Without seeing the solution, I could solve it in some time, right? So, that was the level. And so I was happy, but still, whenever I was seeing coding tests of other companies being asked in other colleges, because no company would visit my college obviously, but when I was seeing some sample questions being asked, I was not able to solve it. So I was very scared also, but still I had some confidence that hey, I'm able to solve lead code medium level questions. I think that is a good metric. Again, you might remember that I have a very bad habit of watching YouTube and random YouTube videos. That is when I encountered the YouTube. Actually, I encountered an interview by Vivek on a channel of his junior. I think it's Geeky Baller or something. And I encountered his like YouTube channel, and I found out Vivek Gupta, IIT Kharagpur CSC, ICPSC, ICPC World Finalist, and SDE at Google. Probably has done everything related to competitive programming in his life, right? So yeah, other people have also found Vivek through Geeky Baller, right? And I found out his YouTube channel, and he was talking like Vivek was talking about growth in CP and the projects you can make, right? And I was so impressed by him that I said that no matter what happens, I just want to connect with him. I already know a lot of DSA. I can solve medium level problems on lead code. I don't want to study from him. I just want to interact with him. I just want to get in touch with him so that something good happens in my life. maybe he can refer me somewhere just for that. And I found out that he teaches at AlgoZenith. So I just bought the course thinking that I don't want to learn from him, just be connected with him. That is why I bought the course. And I was in full confidence that I would be able to like easily do AZ. I'm not even interested in the material. I'm just interested in the person joining, person teaching. That is why I joined. But after joining AZ, I figured out that I stood nowhere. The level of problems that they were teaching, right? I could not solve even in 4 or 5 attempts, right? Even the topics that I've completely studied and kept aside, that, hey, I know this stuff. Even those questions I was not able to do. So I was able to do easier questions, but not the harder questions. And the quality of questions that I saw in the initial topics only, I was amazed that how are people able to do this stuff, right? So then my AZ journey began. What I did was at AZ, I decided to fully commit myself to this particular thing. There is an amazing teacher teaching, there is an amazing problem set, there is mentorship there. A lot of people are here are really smart. So I'm fully committing myself to this. And I'm not going to attend college or any classes. There was COVID happening anyways. So there were very few classes happening. So I was like full AZ focus, right? So I diligently attended all the live classes. I did not miss even a single live class. I solved all the questions, even the hardest ones. I gave all the contests and I was consistently at the top of the leaderboard. I was in the top 3 always in terms of problem solved, and I was number 1 always in terms of the contest that was happening, right? So the contest, whenever it happened, yeah, contest of AZ only. AZ, like my batch specific contest that used to happen after every batch. I was in end of my third year by then. By then this was happening. It was end of third year and it went up to I think beginning of fourth year. I was extremely late. I'm not a early taker of AZ like first year or second year students. Right? Like FitG faced this particular batch. Okay, so I'm not sure about that, but I'm not sure about FitG which batch. So in my center, I was placed in the top batch, right? On which sem I joined AZ, probably fifth semester in math or sixth semester. I don't honestly remember, but in 2021, late 2021, right? I was consistently at the top of the leaderboard and people started following my submissions. My pass out year was 2022, right? So what happened was I had a lot of I had a habit of writing clean code, right? So some of you might write very dirty code. The CP like code is very dirty. But because I came from lead code, I had solved a lot of problems on lead code. I had a very good habit of writing very clean code. And suddenly what happened was people were seeing that, hey, this is the guy that is consistently coming at the top. So they started seeing my submissions. So when they saw my submissions, it was also very clean. So instead of the official solution provided by AZ, they started following my submissions because it was easier. And some people started asking me doubts. And that is how I made friends. In fact, very good story. The person who was the first one who started following my submissions and said that your submissions are much more helpful than the official AZ solution, he is the one who referred me to Zomato 2 years later. So the friends that I made at AZ were the ones who were referring me, and he's the one who got me a referral to Zomato. And if you don't know about Zomato, Zomato only hires through referrals. So he put in a good word for me, and that is how I got in. Right? So what was the result of all this? I became an expert on Codeforces and 4-5 contests. As I told you, my only goal of Codeforces was to become an expert because I was not that interested in competitive programming because I was already late. If I would have been in this position in second year or third year, I probably would have continued competitive programming, right? Because it was very interesting to me. but I was extremely late. I was in my fourth year beginning phase, and people were already getting placed. Right. So I just gave 4 or 5 contests, immediately became expert in 4 or 5 contests, and left. If you see my Codeforces today, it reflects that. I cleared the toughest OAs out there. So DShaw and Uber have very like are supposed to have very tough OAs, right? And in Uber, I was like, no matter what happens, I'll not be able to clear this OA online assessment, right? And I just sat there, and it was a 1 hour OA with 3 very tough questions. I solved the first question. I said, okay, this was an easy question. Maybe I'll obviously not be able to solve the second. I solved the second question. Then I came to the third. I solved the third question. All the test cases were passed, and I was selected for Uber. So from a tier 3 college, getting selected to interview at Uber and clearing the first round itself, like the online assessment as well as the first round, was a big deal for me, right? And I obviously cleared the D Shaw interview as well. So, and eventually I joined Commvault. So the story with Uber is I got rejected in the system like design round, right? But in D Shaw, what happened was the first online assessment I obviously cleared. I also cleared the screening or the first interview, but then they ghosted me. So there was some hiring freeze happening at that time, and then I eventually joined Commvault. And by the time my joining at Commvault came, D Shaw was like, "Hey, would you like to interview with us now?" 3 months later or 4 months later. So I was like, "No, I don't want to interview at D Shaw because Commvault was giving me good money and I was satisfied with my offer." Right. So that is what happened. And I worked at Commvault for 2 years. I left Commvault and joined Zomato, and worked at Zomato in the backend engineering team of the app. So you guys have a Zomato app, right? Similarly, the riders or the delivery partners also have a app. So I worked at the back end of that particular delivery application. Great. So that is it about my journey. If you guys want, I can discuss more about Commvault and Zomato. You only solved 121 problems throughout your Codeforces journey and became an expert. Yes, not because I only solved 121 problems on Codeforces. I solved more than 300 problems on AZ, which were extremely quality problems. Extremely quality problems. I am also in fifth sem. Is it very late? No, it is not late. See, I will tell you this. It is never too late, first of all. I'll answer this in just a minute about getting late in your journey. Sir, while doing AZ, did you not do Codeforces at Coder? No, I did not. I completely stopped everything because AZ was taking a good amount of my effort and time. I completely committed to AZ. Okay, so Commvault. If you guys want to know about Commvault, which things I worked on, Commvault was an amazing company. Anybody who wants to work at Commvault, I would highly encourage you to give their test. So Commvault has a very unique hiring process. I will not talk about the hiring process right now. It might have changed by the time like you guys apply. But Commvault, there is a so say you guys know about Salesforce, right? Salesforce makes a product for businesses, which is a CRM sort of, and it is a big tool in itself. So the Salesforce cloud or the Sales Cloud is a CRM which you can write backend code for it, like backend code on it in its own native language, which is a wrapper around Java. So it is a like Java based language called Apex, right? Sales Cloud has a front end, so it has a front end library, like complete framework as well. So a front end framework, and it has its own database, obviously, which you can query using something called as SOQL or Salesforce Object Query Language. So I mainly worked on all these three things in the Salesforce part, and there was another platform which I used to work on, which was OpenAir, but it was like I used to write JavaScript based scripts to automate stuff. So in Commvault, I majorly worked on these two things. So if you guys don't know, like very large companies, right? So Commvault is a B2B company. Commvault is a B2B company which sells backup and recovery software to multiple businesses, right? It makes backup and recovery software. So if you guys know about UPI, so like the government of India has purchased or given a tender to somebody who uses Commvault software to back up all the UPI transactions that happen. So NPCI also uses it basically, right? So any transaction that is happening on UPI is backed up by Commvault software. Now, this is a very big business, obviously. So it is also a listed company. So to maintain all that data about sales, about marketing, about professional services they are providing, uh, about potential clients, about possible revenue in the next quarter, a cloud like a CRM sort of is required. And Salesforce is probably one of the biggest like sales cloud platform out there. And I used to work on that. And this is a professional services. So like Commvault used to provide professional services to other companies. Like we would come at your center and on your servers we will install your software. So we were having a lot of people who were like installing software. So to manage all that, all the data of all the employees who are going and actually doing professional services, there was the open air platform. So these are the two things that I basically worked on in Commvault. There were some amazing people there, right? And then at Zomato, I used to work. So one is the client, sort of the user facing app, right? This is you in your mobile ordering food. Then there is the delivery partner. We call it DP. So there is a DP app. So the backend of DP app, like the entire delivery services, I used to work on this backend. I was placed in this team, right? And then I obviously joined AZ, and I am doing multiple things here. Right. Any questions now? Did you work on the DevOps side of deployment? Not like in my time frame or my time at Zomato, because at Commvault there was no such thing as DevOps needed on Salesforce. It had its own deployment strategies. You can create gear sets and you can do certain things. You don't need to do much things there. But in Zomato, it was proper backend multiple services, right? So to deploy that, usually like senior people or service owners used to deploy that. This DP is for the rider of the rest. No, it is for the rider. Rider. On which tech stack? Good question. So Zomato, one of my major monolith. So one monolith. I'm not sure if I should share this or not, but I don't know. It is language only. It is like publicly available. There was one big monolith, big chunk of code that was running entire rider side application backend that was written in Ruby, because it was a very like old, like there was a company, entire company that used to handle this in the early days in the 2015 and 16. It was acquired by Zomato. First of all, delivery used to be handled by someone else, but when Zomato got bigger, it acquired that company, and that company wrote the code in Ruby. But then other microservices were written in Golang. You did all of your CP and DSA in Python? No, I started with Python, but as soon as I joined AZ, I switched to C++. I think before even joining to AZ, I switched to C++. How did you become good in dev? Like working at company. Uh, with what will you teach? Web dev or DSA? Mixed classes. It is still like mostly I would take some sessions of DSA and CP. Mostly it will be taken by Vivek. I will take sessions on web dev also. How much DSA was asked in Zomato role? Both the interviews were like heavy on DSA. Sir, like, can we reach expert and possibly CM using just AZ questions? Just AZ questions? Okay, let me tell you, using just AZ questions, you will have the aptitude, you will have enough aptitude plus intuition plus coding skills to reach, I would say, 17 to 1900 or possibly more rating on Codeforces. But to actually reach that rating, you need to solve actual contests also. See, just because you have skills does not mean that you will perform good in contest. So you need to give actual contests also. So after maybe 15-20 contests, you become a CM, something like that. Right? Not 15-20, I would say more contests would be required. And Codeforces like problems would be required. How do you manage dev and CP at same time? I mean, first of all, you do what is happening at AZ and everything will happen. So dev is mostly like doing projects, right? You can take an entire course of it, but it is mostly doing projects. And most people who get hired learn actual dev while doing it inside companies. Sir, will we learn any language fundamentals today or is it only guidance session? We will learn C++. We will have a C++ session today. So 1 hour was dedicated to it. So by till 9:30, I'll be talking about all this. And from 9:30 to 10:30, we will study about C++ fundamentals. No refactoring done till now. Okay, so they are trying to cut off. I'm assuming you're talking about this, right, Daksh? You're talking about this monolith? Yes. So I have heard, and I'm not sure about this, but junior developers and HD2s also, their default thinking mechanism is microservices. But sometimes monoliths are also very useful. Depends on the use case. Second, it is extremely hard to take already working code written in one language with thousands of like hundreds of responsibilities and cut it down to microservices. So they were in the process of cutting it down, and all the new services were becoming were written in Golang, and it was a continuous process. But e- eliminating a monolith which is handling probably 80% of the tasks of your organization is extremely difficult. So much like working code is there. How can you replace it in 1 year or maybe even 5 years? What about front end? I did not work on front end in Zomato. What is the most amazing thing you learn in Zomato dev environment? The speed at which they work. The speed at which they work and the amount of responsibilities they give you, even as a junior developer. Uh, just imagine you as a junior developer, as an SDE1, after 1 year of experience, I would say 1 year of experience, is deploying your own microservice. You are like pushing it to the pipeline. You are communicating with everyone who has made a change. Plus, you are monitoring. You are responsible for deploying your own microservice. This amount of responsibility, I don't think many places have. Constructive and ad hoc covered in AZ problem set. Yes, extremely, in an extremely good way. CM at this point is looking like a dream. Don't worry. After you do AZ, and if you do AZ in a good manner, CM will like look reachable to you. I've worked on the backend of ONDC in Magic Pen while Zomato had just invested back. And oh, nice, 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 very nice. I'm zero at dev. Then how should I start at dev these times when I am in third year? Start making my projects, I would say. So today, uh, So let me see, multiple questions are there. So regarding dev, right? There are certain fundamental things you should know. So first of all, where are you going? You're going in web dev, or you're going in Android or iOS, right? So I can tell you about like web dev. You have to obviously learn HTML and CSS, HTML, CSS, JS, some basics. In fact, you don't even need to learn anything more. You can maybe learn React if you want to. You can maybe learn other backend framework. But the thing is, don't become an expert in React. Don't become an expert at backend by doing a course. First, learn a little bit, and then implement it. Make lots and lots of projects. So whenever you learn something, try making projects, and that is how you will learn. And make difficult projects. Don't make easy projects. Sir, currently I'm in my third year, fifth semester, and just a beginner in both DSA and Dev. Can you please guide me regarding how to manage both in parallel? And should I do web dev in parallel with the AZ cohort? And should I personally always recommend? Okay, so let me clear this DSA part to you. See, there was another person who was saying that I am in my fifth semester and I'm getting late. See, are you planning to staying a software engineer only for 2 years? Are you going to be a software engineer only like for 2 years, or till only SDE2? Or do you want to become staff engineer at Google eventually after 10 years, 10 to 12 years? You want to become staff engineer at Google, or a VP of product, or VP at Glean, maybe, right? It is a very long journey, right? First of all, understand that you are not preparing yourself just for the next 2 years, but for a very long journey. Second, in the first initial years of you passing out, let's say you passed out here, X year, right? This is a passing out year from college. This up till, I would say, X plus 3 or X plus 4 years. Let's say till you are HD2 or SD3 also in some cases. DSA will be majority of the interview process. It will be the only center of attention in online assessments, and 70% of the interview, 60% in some cases, 100% in other cases, would be revolving around DSA. So the first 3 to 4 years of your working career, right? DSA is going to be the center point getting you hired. So it is extremely fruitful, and the return on investment on putting effort at DSA right now is so much that I think everyone should focus on AZ. Um, or basically, in terms of AZ, I mean DSA and CP. Your undivided attention to AlgoZenith for the next few months is my personal opinion. Right? It is not a short career, and for the next 3 4 years, DSA is going to be the center of your career, getting you hired. I'm not talking about on job work, I'm talking about getting hired in good companies. And if you know that DSA is going to be used, and you know the syllabus, and someone is teaching you that, don't you think it is extremely fruitful to actually invest right now and get extremely good at DSA and be done with it? Then after 2 years, if you want to switch to another good company, you just need to revise a little bit. Right? True. If code works efficiently, don't touch it. Exactly. Sir, since you are a backend professional, so will you guide us through backend ideas? I can guide you through that. Which topic in DSA feels difficult for you while you are learning? I would say dynamic programming used to feel difficult, but not anymore, I would say. Graphs is my favorite topic. I can like since if you guys don't know about it, well, I was an intern at AZ. First of all, I was tasked with making the Rubik's Cube solver project, right? I am the one who made that. I'm not sure the videos are of that great quality, but the code that is written and the tasks that are made are very good quality. So this also sort of uses graph algorithms, right? Graph algos to solve. So that is why I really love graphs. Amazon has same in tier 2, tier 3 services. Okay. You made notes for AZ classes. I did not make notes for AZ classes. How you made it, or any suggestion for us to take notes making? I think uh, people, there are certain people who actually like to make notes in AZ classes. I think Vivek would tell you a little bit more about that, but I personally never made notes. Which is the best backend? Node.js, Golang. It is a very not a good question. There is no such thing as a good backend. Up to, for a startup or a mid-sized company, every backend, she has its pros and cons, obviously, right? Node.js might be easy to implement, or something like Spring Boot might be very fast. But the thing is, uh, which do you learn? So there are very common concepts happening in all backends like Node.js, Golang, and Spring Boot. There are some essential concepts that are happening everywhere. So you need to learn the essentials, fundamentals of backend. That is more important than being stick to one backend. First of all, that. And which is the best backend is not a good question, because any application at a mid-sized company, till a mid-sized company, so from a startup as an AZ level to a mid-sized company, let's say with 100 employees, also 100 plus employees, like if you don't have extremely high throughput, right? If you don't have extremely 1 million queries per minute, something like that is not happening, any backend would suffice, given your team has enough talent to build that backend, right? So it is more of a like architectural question. Which backend is suitable for our use case? You need to look which talent is available in the market. So if I'm hiring for Golang developers and there is no Golang developer out there at the SD1 level, how will I deal with that? If there is no Spring Boot developer, so any backend would work. At mid-sized companies, at large scale companies, the problems are different, the scale is different, so they need to shift to maybe a very small optimizations also, like really play a good role. Someone has already answered almost the same compilation time, but since Java is more widely used for older companies, why is it obviously widely used? Because I think more secure in some sense. And earlier Node.js and Golang weren't that popular. And Java has also been battle tested. Proper frameworks are there for it. Right? For startups, would suggest Golang and go for Spring Boot if you are aiming for companies with legacy code bases. Exactly. Like, I mean, as a person, if you want to learn, you can learn anything, to be honest. Should anyone interested in data field do DSA and CP? By data field, what do you mean? Do you mean data science and like machine learning? If yes, then yes, you should do it a little bit at least, because in some data science companies also they ask DSA. Does Zomato use Apache, Flink, RabbitMQ? I'm not sure. I've not used it. They use. Uh, I'm not sure about that. I did not use it in my working there. So currently I'm pursuing EC. Okay. So we have last 9 minutes of answering questions. So we'll be covering questions till 9:30. After that, we'll be moving forward to actual learning of C++. Today we'll be covering something around arrays. Uh, something. We'll see. What should I do? As Vivek Bhaiya said, we get referral only if we are in the top 10. You will, so first complete AZ course. Don't worry about referral. If you do good, if you do good in AZ, you will get a referral. I have interest in ML and DL and I have tried to do development, but I didn't like it much. However, I'm interested in problem solving. Will I be able to get good placement? Which college are you from? If you're aiming for DL and ML, that also depends. And always ML and DL is always like can work as a project in your resume, right? So someone has already answered a very good. It's good to have projects always. Lucky if your interview revolves around them. or if there is nothing, the CP becomes a very big part of your interviews. Exactly. Yes. Give undivided attention to AZ. And in AZ also dev classes would be happening. You can learn along the way, but main thing is this DSA. Yes, I saw the Rubik's Cube solver project in your resume. Exactly, that I made for like AlgoZenith. I even know a person with 8+ years of experience needing DSA to switch. It might happen. Sir, backend course in Node.js, or is it coming to anytime soon? Maybe. I'll discuss it with Vivek. We can make scalable backend with Django, 100%. AlgoZenith's backend is on Django and it can be scaled. I mean, obviously, AZ is not at that scale, to be honest. But scalable backends can be made at Django. Some services in some big companies would be written in Django. Maybe Netflix also uses, I think, Django. Migration projects don't get funding much. That's why legacy code is maximum. Maybe. 3 most important things you must keep in mind while doing AZ cohort, or any other premium course of AZ apart from cohort. Should we do it or just the cohort? Again, so there are multiple parts to AZ, right? AZ has live classes. AZ has a problem set. And then there are other things. So others include recorded classes plus contests if it is happening for your batch. I'm talking about AZ contests only. If you like attend all the live classes, do all the problems that are there, at least 80 to 90% of the problems that are given to you. Watch recorded lectures whenever it is said to you and give contests. If you complete this task, complete this entire thing dedicatedly 90% of the time for 5 to 6 months, you will be in a extremely good position. Extremely good position. Just take my word for it. If you don't want to take my word for it, very simple thing. Find AZ alums. Right? Find AZ alumni on LinkedIn and just ask them about their journey at AZ, and is it worth it to give this much time to AlgoZenith. So in today's market, job opportunities are available in which stack? We will talk about job like market later. Maybe it is a very complex topic, to be honest. Should we learn Java if we already know C++, or should we go in depth in C++ for like system design and oops if you know C++? So first of all, why do you want to go to system design and oops suddenly? First, focus on DSA using C++. Very big advantage. C++ plus DSA. Do that first of all. Then maybe we can discuss about system design and object-oriented programming. Object-oriented programming, C++ is enough for you. System design does not have any language in it. If you're talking about high-level design, if you're talking about low-level design, it can always be implemented in C++. But if a company asks Java-specific questions, then there is very little thing that you can do. So if you want to learn Java, you can do that as well. Which language did you use in Rubik's Cube? C++. What is the benefit of C++? 100% someone has written correctly. Community support for CP and DSA is it's not relatively greater. It is the most out there, right? So I would say ki, let's say the entire competitive programming market, anyone who is doing DSA or competitive programming, I would say 80% of them are doing in C++. 15% would be doing in Python maybe, and 5% are doing in Java. Right? I'm talking about CP. What happens is, and this is purely for CP. And CPists, so competitive programmers, are the ones setting questions, giving resources, coming up with new ideas. If they are the trend setters, and they are writing code in C++. They are providing solution to the problems they are setting in C++. Then at higher levels, you would always find resources in C++, but very difficult to find resources in Java or Python. One. Second, competitive programming sites are optimized for C++. I should not use optimized as the word here. They are properly set up for C++. So the test cases are tested against C++ solution. Python obviously takes more time to execute. So they have to provide more time for your code to get executed, and they have to provide a time limit. So it might happen that Python and Java code are failing even if you have a correct logic. And it has happened with me with Java, with Python. So C++ is preferred over Python because of that. Fast also, community support also tier 3, but now I'm in NIT Surathkal. Okay. Where do you know about IIT Lucknow College? Yes, I know about that. Should we do contests simultaneously? If you want to, like if you have the mental bandwidth to do it. I am a MS from, okay. 3 more minutes I'll be giving to questions. Quickly answer all of the questions. I am from this branch. What should I do to maximize the course? Learn C++, focus on the course. Is only AI, ML plus DSA plus tier 2 enough for placements without web and Android? If you want to go to AI and ML profile, yes, it is enough. But if you want to go to develop like software developer roles, then you should make a software developer project, I would say, right? It's pretty logical, I would say. But if you don't want to go into those roles and you are just applying for AI and ML roles, then AI, ML, but in depth, proper AI, ML. Don't do it just for the sake of it. I know a person with it. Okay. Why choose Django over others for AZ? Maybe because Rohan and Vivek would be able to answer that better. So, why do you think, at a very small scale, which language you should choose is a how do you decide that? The biggest contributor would be how easy it is to make in that language and how readily available the talent is. I'm not going to hire for, so let's say I make my site in Node.js. But if I'm not able to find Node.js developer at a relatively nice price, then there is no point in starting my site at Node.js. If Rohan and Vivek both themselves knew Python and Django, then it is, and Nitish and Shubham also knew Python and Django, it is extremely easy to start building their own website in the language they know and in the language it is easier to make the backend of, right? We are not talking about any engineering problems here, right? Any scalability issues, right? Django must have been preferred over other languages just because of the talent. Talking about dev here, I'm in third year. I've already did app dev in Flutter and I have projects. So should I give time for learning web dev in parallel? If you can, if you have mental bandwidth apart from AZ, you can give time to anything. But I am saying that any sane person who wants to do good at AZ will have only 10 or 20% mental bandwidth available after completing AZ properly each day, is my claim. If you have not done DSA properly, focus on DSA first. Is it possible to go self-paced? 100%. We have self-paced courses. You can go self-paced. Recordings are always available. A problem set is always available. You already have access for a long time. You can go self-paced. So do data people need DSA? Data means what? Data engineering or data science? How to choose some good project and resume like you have chosen Rubik's Cube solver? You can obviously attempt any good projects. We'll discuss about projects later. Don't worry about that. Today, we are not going to discuss about project building. 3 more minutes, last questions. On job with C++, what are the job prospects? No electronics communication, compilers and all, but why do you want a job with C++ only? In your life, in your software engineering career, you are going to switch languages 4, 5, 7, 10 times. In Zomato, I switched 2 times. So first I went to Ruby, then I had to change to, like I was working on a service that was written in Ruby, then I had to switch to Golang. But obviously, yeah, you can go for compilers and all. So Synopsys and all these companies write code in C++. How should we learn core CS subjects? There is resources available on the AZ platform for free for you. Sir, why Python takes so much time while C++ is not? It will take a little bit time to explain, but obviously C++ is a first it is compiled, made into bytecode, into executable, and then it is executed. And Python does not happen like that. It is sort of parallelly, um, like it is not. I would not say it is not compiled and it is interpreted. That is not a good answer, to be honest, but it is something along those lines, and it will take some time to explain. Mental bandwidth. I mean, what do I mean by mental bandwidth? The effort that you will put 4 hours a day, 5 hours a day in AlgoZenith to solve the problems without seeing the solution after attending the live classes. If you still have energy left inside you and time left to give, only then give it to other things. Covering AZ101 C++ is enough to extremely ready for this course. It covers everything. We have web dev in this semester. Can you please advise on what and how to study for college exams? How would I suggest on college exams? I used to study like one night before, and in some exams, I did not even study one night before. I used to go in the morning, so 9:30 used to be the exam. I used to go at 8, meet with all my friends, and we used to discuss what is going to come in the exam. Used to give the exam at 9:30 and forget about it. A candidate master will get a job at PBC for sure. Very likely. If you have a good resume, if you know how to speak, if you know other things as well, very likely. Are AZ resources enough for CS core subjects? Extremely, yes. You just need to understand it, right? Sir, your CGPA was 9.22. Yes, my CGPA was 9.22, but it was a tier 3 college. CGPA has very little meaning in those colleges. Yes, I need to continue with C++ right now. Great. So, should I give a 5-minute break? I think I should give a 5-minute break. Uh, or let's give a, yeah, I should give a 5-minute break. So 5-minute break for everyone. Join at 9:40 exact. Don't leave the class, right? Just switch off whatever you are doing, and we'll be back at 9:40 p.m. And I'll start with C++. Okay. Okay, great. I hope people are back. Just to confirm, I hope you had a nice 5 minute break because we are going to start with C++ now, right? Okay, there should be sound. Just to confirm, please write a +1 in chat if you are back. Right. A lot of people are writing +1s. Great. Let us start with actual learning today because a lot of motivation has already happened. I'm going to give you a quick question. Right. So, first of all, I know that the lecture for time complexity still hasn't happened. But today, what we are going to study is will involve a little bit of time complexity. I hope you know a little bit about it and solving questions on like against test cases. So I just hope that you know a little bit about time complexity. I'm not going to ask you the time complexity of certain things. It will just involve that what is a better solution than this, right? Things like that. Right. So first question. Okay. So let's say you're given an array, right? Uh, you are given an array. You can call it ARR or let's say A, right? Of n numbers, of n integers, and you are given a number m, right? A number m. From 1 to m, you need to print something like what is the, so let's say I goes from 1 to m, what is the frequency of I in A? Basically, you're given an array here, right? There are a bunch of numbers here, and you're given an integer m. From 1 up till m, you need to print 1 colon frequency of 1 in this array, 2 colon frequency of 2 in this array. Frequency means how many times 2 appears in this array. 3 followed by 3 colon frequency of 3 in this array up till m, right? And let me give you some constraints. Let's say n is up to 10 to the power 6 and m is up from 1 till 10 to the power 6, and array of I, meaning any position at I. So this I and this I is different, right? This I and this I is different. Uh, can be from minus 10 to the power 9 to 10 to the power 9. How many of you got this question? Write a +1, otherwise write a -1. I'm going to explain this question again anyways. Please write a -1 if you did not understand this question. I'm seeing mostly +1s. If anyone would write a minus, okay, great. One -1 at least. A few -1 I'm expecting. Okay, there are a few -1s. Okay. So don't know how to process the constraint. That is completely fine. I just want to know how many of you understood the question. What is question asking? Right? So you are given an array, let's say 1, 3, 2, 2, 3, -1, 5, 100, right? And you are given something like m equal to, so this is your array, and you are given m equal to 5. You need to print 5 lines, right? One line being 1. So how many times 1 is present in this array? Quickly tell me the output. Quickly tell me the output for all 5 lines. Okay, Piyush has suggested something. That is great. But I want the output first. 12201, 12201, 12201. Exactly. So how many times is 1 present in this array? Exactly 1. 2 is present twice. 3 is present twice. 4 is not present, so 0 times. 5 is present once. You basically need to output this on different lines, right? How would you solve this? Given, let's say n is up to 10. So, okay, what is the easiest solution that you can think of? I can think of a pretty easy solution. Map. Okay. This is about arrays only, right? Have you studied map right now? I don't think so. In STL, you have not covered map. So let's say we are trying to do this without map. Obviously, this can be done with map, but let's say we are trying to do this without a map. Declare an array of size m plus 1, each having 0 values initialized. While taking the input, add 1 each time to the value which comes from 1 to m. Great. Rishabh has given a good, let's say, solution. But I want others to also give any solution. Let's not stick ourselves to these constraints. For now, forget about these constraints. Tell me a good any solution that you can think of. Using a map and increase. Okay, we are not going to use map. Sort and count. Piyush, how would we sort and count? Search for every number. Very good. Can't you just do a for loop from 1 till m and find how many times that number exists in this array for like count it in another for loop, right? So 1 till m, and this then goes from 0 to n minus 1. Just in the inside for loop, find count of I, and this is I. Can't you do it? Two nested for loops. Exactly, Ritik. Frequency array, array of array. Why is array of array needed? Traverse array again and again for all m's. Exactly. Iterate for one m. Exactly. Great. Make set. Why is set required here? So what is the time complexity in order notation of this approach? N square? No. N into m. Exactly. It is n into m. Why? Because we are iterating m times, and inside m we are iterating n times always. So it is order n into m. If you don't know about time complexity right now, just think how many instructions are happening. So m in like n instructions are happening m times. So that is why n into m, right? Searching times reduces after sorting because we need to find consecutive numbers of frequency. Okay, good. That is a good thinking, but uh, sort then find first occurrences using binary search. Okay, now I'm thinking you guys are thinking somewhat. So if we sort it, right? If we sort it, and after sorting, this is your array. A bunch of minus hundreds, mostly minus hundreds, and then 1, 1, 2, 2. Then how would you count it? So this is your array after sorting. After sorting, this is the array. So what is the frequency here? How would you find it? Won't you have to still go to the entire array? Still go to the entire array to count this. With difference array, what is difference array? Sort then find first occurrences. If you do it using binary search, then maybe it can be helpful, right? So sorting will take n log n, right? So first of all, sorting is taking n log n. Then for each m, you are doing a binary search. So it is taking m log n, right? Everybody understands binary search solution. Even if you don't know about binary search, think that you are able to find the first occurrence and the last occurrence using log n. How many of you understand this time complexity of the solution other people are providing? N log n plus m log n. N log n for sorting. This is for sorting. For each m, search n log n time. Sort using n log n. For each m from 1 to m, for each number from 1 to m, find the first index, find the last index using lower bound and upper bound, minus them, and you will get the amount of elements that are there, occurrences of it. If you don't know about binary search, don't worry. When we'll come to binary search, we'll discuss about that. This is this solution, but we can do much better than this, right? First of all, tell me, will this pass for these constraints? The constraints that I gave you. Will this pass for these constraints? It will pass. Will it pass always? So under very strict time bound things, right? It will not pass. It will not pass in, first of all, n log n. Sorting it array of 10 to the power 6 might not always work. If the time constraint is very, let's say 1 second, it will give a TLE, right? So this is not feasible. Any other solution anyone likes to mention? For auto I map I plus plus. Is that perfect solution? Frequency array, unordered map. Let's say we are not using maps. I already told you, we are not using maps. Frequency array, exactly. We'll be using a frequency array of 10 to the power 6, or of what? Take input if the element is less than m, then create an entry for frequency array. Exactly. Exactly. Just a second. Let me sort the background noise that is happening. How it gives TLE? 10 to the power 6, 6 log 10. Okay. Yes. So 10 to the power 6 is 6 into 10 to the power log 10, which is less than generally what you will say. Of course, most cases it should not, but it will give TLE. Global array as pre-computing frequency array. A bunch of ideas are there, but let me explain what is the, okay. So this might actually give TLE, 10 to the power 6, sorting a 10 to the power 6 array in multiple questions. If the time constraint is set to be very less, right? And you are doing n log n plus m log n. So there is a constant of 2 also getting added, right? So it is becoming 6 plus 6, 12. So 1.2 into 10 to the power 7, it is already becoming, and depends on how you implement it. 10 to the power 8 is the limit, uh, but it is a very lenient limit. You should always try to cover your solutions within 10 to the power 6 or 10 to the power 7. Right? 10 to the power 8 operations is the limit, I know. But in some questions, let's say when there are test cases, when the time constraint is set very right, like very tight, 10 to the power 6 or 10 to the power 7 is the maximum number of order notation time complexity you should go for. Don't go for operations more than that, mostly. Right? So this will actually not pass. So in your mind, just keep that I don't want to exceed order 10 to the power 6 operations. If you keep this in mind, most questions would be passing. But using STL is better approach. We'll be discussing a better approach right now. The better approach is frequency array. So the frequency array is an array. So it's an array, right? An array has two things. It has value and it has an index. Inside our frequency array, what we can store is, let's say this is our original array. So 1, 2, 5, 5, 7, 100, minus 100, right? Very good. Altamash has given has said that array values ranging. Discuss about that later. We'll just discuss it. And Kritika has given the correct answer. Great. We'll see about that. So original array, if you want to convert it into a frequency array, it is basically right. At the index 1, store the count of 1. Right? At the index 1, store the count of 1. So index is actually the value. Value at that index is actually the frequency of that element. And let me show you in code how you can do it. So let me close this up. We won't be needing this anymore. So I hope everybody can see my screen. This is my template that I use, and inside my solve function, I'm going to write certain stuff. So let us say we take an input int n, right? And we create an array. Right? And we take the input of an array. Now I want to create a frequency array. Right? So what is the largest array that you can create inside main? I would say approximately up to 10 to the power 6. So let me declare a constant here. Although it is not needed. Right? And let us also initialize it. So I've initialized the array with all the zeros using these two brackets. Right? Quickly see how am I building frequency array. Frequency array. For int I equals 0, I less than n, I plus plus. Array of, okay. So frequency of array of I plus plus. Let us say all our elements are within the range of 0 to 1e6. 0 to 1e6. So 1e6 is basically 10 to the power 6. If all our elements are in between the range of 0 to 10 to the power 6, we can build a frequency array like this that go to that element's index and increase its frequency by 1. Once all the elements are covered, this frequency array will have the frequency of each element inside our original array. How many of you got this point right? A +1. How to build a frequency array. Great. Great. So, and that is what we need to output, right? See how we carefully constructed this array in order n time. Using order, this capital N space, but in order n time. We calculated everything. How will you do it for negative numbers? Very good question. What is the question saying? You are given m, which is greater than 1 and up till 10 to the power 6. You need to output only this. Should it be n plus 1? Yes. So I'm assuming that it is like a less than that. So usually I don't write 1e6 to not confuse you. I wrote this, but this is how I usually write. So a bunch of extra spaces there, right? If elements are in the range minus 1e9 to 1e9, then how we don't have to use map. In this question, you only need the frequency of elements from 1 till m. You only need the frequency of numbers 1 till m. So store the frequency of only numbers 1 till m and then output it. So let me write the code for it. You're given an array. You take the input as array. You're given an m. Let me take m as an input. And instead of declaring a frequency array of size n, I'm going to declare it of size m plus 1. And for each element that is, um, let's say, greater than 0, we can actually write 0 also, but we don't need that value. And array of I is less than m plus 1, right? Or less than equal to m. You can do this. And after you have constructed this array, you can simply output Cout I followed by a colon followed by frequency of I. See this code and let me know if you understand what I'm trying to teach here. See, stick to the question first. Arrays is useful because it is faster. Vedant. The frequency arrays are much faster than frequency maps always, right? But maps give us an added advantage of storing negative numbers, storing larger numbers, all that. But if you have it within the range, always use arrays. Because in some cases, maps might give a TLE, will have a, so accessing maps will give you what? Log n extra complexity or log number of distinct elements in the map, right? And unordered maps are anyways can be made to like, um, how will you iterate over a unordered map first of all? And if you don't even want to iterate, it might give you a TLE because in worst case notation, like order n is the access time. For each test file which contains multiple test cases, we have time limit for each test case each test case have time limit. So don't think about test files, think about test cases. One single file with multiple test cases have one time limit. Each file, so there are multiple files, each file has 1 second, 1 second, 1 second, like that time limit. But multiple test cases across might have a same time limit. How many of you understood this? Write a +1 if you understood this code. We only needed to calculate the frequency up from 1 to m. So instead of creating a map, sorting it, or doing all that stuff, we created a frequency array, went to its index and increased its frequency count by 1, and just outputted it at the end. Great. Great. I wanted a more +1s, but it's fine. Okay, great. Let us move to our second question now. Okay, so M you would always be able to handle. Uh, okay, let's move on to our second question. I'll ask you a follow-up question later if we have time. Okay, so you already know about sorting, right? What is M is greater than 10 to the power 8? If M is greater than 10 to the power 8, how will you even output 10 to the power 8 numbers? Forget about solving it. Is it even feasible to like output 10 to the power 8 numbers within the given time limit? Right? So it is not possible. Like let's say 10 to the power 10 numbers, you need to output individual numbers. How will you output 10 to, yeah, of course, TLE. Right. So let us move on to our second question. Let me open another page. So you guys know about sorting, right? So what is the like the minimum time complexity in which a sort can happen? Only log n log n, right? So sorting time complexity is order n log n. a generic like a generic sorting algorithm cannot work better than n log n, right? It cannot work better than n log n. But under certain constraints, you can actually solve, yeah, order n, counting sort. Under certain constraints only, you can solve for a better time complexity, which is order n, which is called counting sort. Right? So let us say you have an array where each element is between 0 to 10 to the power 6. This can be solved by what? How will you sort an array in order n time? Think about it. So I have given you the name counting sort. Think about how would you sort an array with numbers 0 to 10 to the power 6 in order n time. It is extremely similar to the previous question that we did. Map. Once you use map, don't you already like introduce a log n? Frequency array, exactly. Frequency array. Count the frequency of elements in the frequency array. Make the frequency table and print according to each count. Exactly. Just store the frequency of each elements. So let us say we have elements like 0, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 100 here, right? What we do is we create a frequency. Is it pre-computation? What is pre-computation? I don't understand. What is the meaning of pre-computation here? We create a frequency array. What is the size of the frequency array? Quickly tell me. If we want to count it, what is the size of the frequency array we need to create? 1e6, 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 1e6. Exactly, max element of the array. Who is saying it needs to be 1e6? It needs to be max element of the array plus 1. Right? You can create a frequency array of max element plus 1. Obviously, the max can go up to 10 to the power 6. That is obviously fair, but it is generally like it can be created like that. So what you can do is you can count the frequency of this array. So you can count the frequency of this array into this array. So let me write 0 is coming here, 1 is coming here, 2 is coming here, 3 is coming here, 4 is coming here, and so on. 100 is coming here, and 101. If you want to create a larger array, you can do it. Let me create close the array here. So 0, how many times 0 happens? 0 will come once, 3 once, 2 once, 1 once, then 2 again. So erase this and add 2 here. 3, erase this, increase it by 1, 2 here. All of them are initialized to 0. So 4 is 0, 100, direct access 100, 1. You get access to all the counts. Now iterate from left to right and print it the number of times it is there. Or you can rewrite the original array also. You can rewrite the original array also. So you can write 0 here, then 1 here, then 1 here, or not 1, obviously 2 here, then 2 here, then 3 here, 3 here, and 100 here, and it will be sorted. This is popularly known as count sort. So the trade-off here is we are using memory. We are using memory to actually store something to compromise, like to get better time complexity under the constraint that we can actually create the like memory here. Right? What is the time complexity of it? Given n is the array, can someone correctly tell me the time complexity of it. N is the number of elements in the array in order notation. Order max element, order n. Nobody is giving me a correct answer. N plus n. What is n plus n? M plus n. What is m? Max element value into length of the array. Into length of the array. Then it would obviously not make sense. See, order 2n is what? Order 2n is order n only. So constants we don't consider. N log n l. Where is logarithm here? There is no log we are using. Max of n plus n comma m. M plus n. So what is m? I'm not able to get what this m that you are saying. Someone needs to write the max value in the array. Yes, it is number of elements in the array plus max elements in the array. It is not max of both, it is plus, because first we are iterating over all the elements. First we are iterating over all n elements to calculate the frequency array. Then we are iterating over 0 to max element to actually create the array. So it is n plus max element. That is why it is solvable. It is solvable if the max element is less than equal to 10 to the power 6. If max element is greater than 10 to the power 6, like 10 to the power 9, generally in coding questions, it is not solvable. So let me write the code for it. I don't think I need to write the code for it, but still I will. I will create a frequency array. So what I will do is I will create a max here. Max L. Max L equal to max of max L, comma array of I. Right? I have like calculated the max element inside of it. Frequency max L plus 1 for, and I'll initialize the value. First we actually we can do it here also. Frequency of array of I plus plus, and then we can, if we want to output it or we want to rewrite the original array, both can be done here. Less than equal to max L plus plus. What do I write here? Sorry, not max L. I. What do I write here? While okay, Arul has a doubt that won't it be the order m plus n plus 1? So that we will discuss in time complexity session, that order m plus n plus 1 is actually order m plus n only. We don't consider these constants getting added in order notation. We don't have any multiplication constant also. We don't consider them in order notation. We only consider the growth of it. Even if you have to write order, that does not matter, right? You have to iterate over all the frequency, like elements in the frequency array. How to make it stable? Once you started counting, stable sort is out of question. It cannot be a stable sort, right? You collected them in a single place and equal, like you made them equal. All the ones are equal for you now. Line 16, please explain. We created a frequency array of size max element plus 1. What did you not understand in that? Basically, this is a declaration. Okay, this you don't understand. So, right. That's a good question. I want you to go home and study about it. This is actually about initializing the value, initializing it with all zeros. See, once you are declaring it like this, there is no issue because you are taking input from the 0 to n. But once you access it before adding values to it, you have to initialize it to all zeros. So this is initializing to all zeros. And this is a homework for everyone. See why is it important to add like curly braces after this if you are not like taking input like this or adding values. You can do that as well. You can do equals to that. What is stable sort? Very good question. Stable sort is, so let's say you have zeros, ones. So I'm just giving an example, zeros, ones, twos. Stable sort is sorting elements, right? But their relative position in the final sorted array remains same. So this zero should be always first, this zero should be always second, and this zero should be always third in the original sorted array, right? So it should be 0 0 0, but this zero is the one coming here, this zero is the one coming here, this zero is the one coming here. So the relative position of the elements with the same value should remain same in the final sorted array. That is called a stable sort. Right? While frequency I minus minus array C plus plus. Yeah, I mean, if you are outputting it, I can just do it right like this, right? Frequency of I is there. Frequency of I minus minus C out I, something like that. If I am just outputting it, right? I can do that, right? That would work. In place sorting and stable sorting are two completely different things. In place sorting is sorting without creating another array, like making a copy of that array, right? In place sorting is something that is generally called to this. So 1, 1, 3, 2, 0, 1, 3. If you place it in here only, you are like changing this array to be this array. So 0, 1, 1, 1, 2, 3, 3, something like that. And otherwise, what you do is you create a copy of it and then return it, creating extra memory. And this is discarded. That is not in place sort. Stable sort is a sorting algorithm that maintains the relative order of same elements. Is it a good thing? Yes, it's a good thing for practical purposes. For practical purposes, stable sort is generally good. It's a property of sorting. What is good or bad? I would not say it is good. Like, what is the con if it is unstable sort? Okay, let me tell you. So in practical applications, so sorting is not generally of integers, right? Like not always of integers, right? Let us say there are a bunch of records there. You have a bunch of records, right? And you have a bunch of records with dates. So let's say date or day, let's call it a day. So whenever a person creates an account on AlgoZenith's website, whenever a person creates an account on AlgoZenith website, we are creating an array for it. So if we created on day 1, we are storing the one here, and this is pointing to a record of that person, right? This is a pointer to that. This has a pointer to it. So it has two values. One is the value, the day value, and a pointer, right? Okay, multiple people can create an account on day 1, right? And let's say this particular array that we have created is actually unsorted. So let's say there is a day 0 as well. So people have created this as well. And these are pointers pointing to records. day 1 again, maybe, or day 2, something like that. This can be day 3, day 2, day 3, day 0, and then day versus pointer. Now, if you sort them, okay, I should actually create a 1 also. So let me create this as a 1. So this is a 1. If you sort them and the sort is unstable, what might happen is this record, this particular element might come before this element, right? And we have lost information now. That means now the information regarding who logged in first or who was the first person who logged in on that day is now lost. But if it is a stable sort, that means this person logged in before, or this person created an account before this person. And if we do a stable sort, the information regarding on day one, who logged in first is still maintained. So that is the advantage of stable sort. How many of you got it? Although this is not a very good example, because why then day 1 and day 3 and day 0 are merged, but the information is losing if we are doing an unstable sort. And in stable sort, the relative order is maintained. Right? Some more questions we had. Using while cannot affect the time complexity. Very good question. We will consider about this in while doing time complexity analysis, right? But it will not. It will not, because this frequency of I is total sum. So the okay, very good question. What is the summation of array of frequency of I for I equal to 0, I less than equal to max L? If this frequency of array of I is array created, is a frequency array created for an array with n elements, and max element is the max element in it. What is the summation? Quickly tell me. Number of elements. Perfect. It is n. So this loop individually, even if you take it outside this for loop, will only run n times. So this is a little bit amortization happening here. You might not understand it here. We will discuss this in time complexity session, but amortization is happening. The total amount of instructions this while loop will execute is n only, no matter how many times this is getting run. I hope you get a little bit gist of it, right? So the person who got answered this question, like asked this question, that is the reason for it. Okay, so that is count sort, right? There is one more thing I want to cover today. I actually had multiple things to cover, but we don't have time. Then time complexity would be order n. No. Are you still not iterating over 0 to max element? You're still doing it, right? No matter what happens, this for loop is also executing instructions, right? I is getting plus plus every time for max L, up till max L. See, even if you take the sir, count sort is used in which case generally? Whenever max element is smaller. The max element in the array is smaller and the elements are greater than equal to 0, count sort can be used. Order n into m, then it would be, no, it would not be order n into m. See, we will discuss about time complexity later. Amortization is happening. This particular instruction set of 22 to 25 will only run total amount across all i's, a total of n times. So you can take this out while calculating time complexity and calculate it this plus this instead of this into this. We will discuss about this during the time complexity lecture. Right now, let's go to another problem that I want to discuss at last, which is the last problem for the day. Which is the last problem for the day. Given a string with lowercase and uppercase characters, print all the characters with their frequencies. Don't print zero frequency. So you don't need to print characters which are don't print zero frequency elements. If the frequency is zero, you don't need to print it. You just need to print all the characters which are present in the array, present in the string, and the string can have, let's say A, C, C, then capital D, E, F, A, G, A, B. 256 sized frequency array. Why 256? Make an array of 52 length, 26 for small, 26 for large characters, and count the characters count in it. We will use these ASCII codes as their index in the frequency array. Good option, but you don't even need to use ASCII codes, because ASCII code for these will not start from 0. ASCII codes will start from, I think, 54 or something like that. Index equal to character minus a. We will scale it down. Perfect. So I want to show you how I would implement this. This is very simple, actually, just like how you did it in arrays. Take a string, right? This is how you take a string, create a frequency array of 52. So 26 small plus 26 capital letters. So 52, initialize it to 0. For int I equal 0, you can actually do auto C also, but to not cause confusion, I will only do this. You can do if S of I is greater than equal to A and S of I is less than equal to Z. You can do frequency of S of I minus small a plus plus. If this is between this, you can do frequency of S of I minus capital A plus 26. The offset we need to add plus plus. And for int I equals 0, I less than 52, I plus plus. If frequency of I is not 0, see out frequency of I plus, good point here, I would say let's take it to 26 only. See out A plus frequency of I and typecast it into a character. Followed by obviously its frequency, followed by an endl. And you need to do a similar thing for this as well, for capital letters also. 26 plus I, frequency of 26 plus I, 26 plus I, change this to capital A. Okay, let's see how many of you understood this code. Write a +1, A plus I How many of you understood this code? Sir, after amortization, the amortized TC would be order n for the previous question? No, it would still be order n plus maximum element only. It should be small a plus I. Where? Oh, yes, it should be, shouldn't it be I, obviously. Yes, exactly. Somebody is paying attention. Everyone is writing, they understood the code. So on line 19 as well as on line 25, it should not be 26 also. It should be uh, a plus I only. Right? You cannot simply write a. So be careful while writing this code. You cannot simply write small a plus 26, 27 to get a capital A, capital B. Right? Because ASCII values of capital A might be before ASCII values of capital small a. Right? And which is actually the case. If you try to print the ASCII value of capital A, it is smaller than ASCII value of small a. So they are not sequentially placed. So you calculate it like this. By subtracting S of I minus A, you downscale the ASCII value from 0 to 26. You downscale it, but you store it in the same array with an offset of 26. You iterate over all the elements from 0 to 26 and then print the character as well as the frequency. And would it be 26 plus I? I think yes, it would be 26 plus I only, right? Yes. How many of you got this? Great. So that is what I wanted to discuss for today. Like it is already 10:32. If you have any questions, you're most welcome. Otherwise, everyone is free to leave now. And I'll see you in the next one. Right? Thank you very much.